All right, the recording is on. It's 1 o'clock. I'm going to give people a few more minutes to join. I did drop a link in the chat for non-voting members to check in. For those of you who just joined, I did drop a link in the chat for non-voting members to check in.
Hey, Dr. Chelsea.
Hello, yes.
A quick question. So I know this is the advisory board council meeting. So when you say non-voting, is that non-advisory council or non-board members?
So advisory board is not a voting member.
Okay, just making sure it's the same rules as all of them. Thank you.
And I'll go over that structure today. I do see our co-chair, Commissioner Marlin, in the room, so we will go ahead and get started. As Tanya said, this meeting is completely dedicated to explaining the advisory board and what they do, what's mandated by the intergovernmental agreement, and then what is specific to the GROC. So it's a non-voting meeting today. My name is Dr. Chelsea. I am the program manager for the Region 10 Opioid Abatement Council, referred to as GROC, or Gateway to the Rockies. There is a QR code on the screen for all of our community members who are joining us today. I did also drop the link in the chat. I'll drop it one more time for people who are joining late in case that link does not transfer through. And while folks are doing that, we do have some voting members in the room. So I'll have you just go around and do a brief introduction of your name, your position, and then which county you are representing. So I will go down the screen on my participant list and we'll start with Elisa.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Elisa Witt, Gilpin County Public Health Director. And yes, I'm a voting member and on the executive committee. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Barb.
Hi, everybody. I'm Barb Weinstein. I represent Jefferson County Human Services here for Mary Berg.
Mayor Bud. We'll come back to Mayor Bud.
Okay, do you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Bud Starker, Mayor of the City of Wheat Ridge. Thanks. I got this on. Thanks a lot. Good to see everybody.
Thank you. Eric, I know you're not a voting member, but you're crucial to the group.
Eric Butler here from the County Attorney's Office in Jefferson County.
And Commissioner Marlin.
Yes, hi, George Marlin, Clear Creek County. Good to see everyone. Dr. Shore Miller, before we move to open the agenda after intros, I'd love to just ask for a clarification on whether voting members need to be here, whether we need to have a voting quorum for this meeting to take place, et cetera, et cetera. My intent in logging in was just to say, hi, everybody. Thank you. The advisory committee is so important. I look forward to you all having some time to discuss things together. And thank you so much for your service.
Yes. So as I said in the emails, the voting members do not need to be here today. We are not doing anything of business. I was still giving you folks July off to recoup from the extensive RFA, that 4-month process. This meeting is dedicated entirely to our community members to invite them onto the advisory board, describe that structure, and ask what they're looking for in the Region 10 Council. Jean.
Hi, everybody. Jean Biondi, Assistant County Attorney with Jefferson County.
Sheriff Armstrong.
Good afternoon, everybody. Kevin Armstrong, Gilpin County Sheriff.
Commissioner Dahlkemper.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Leslie Dahlkemper, Jeffco Commissioner, and I serve as the chair of the Gateway to the Rockies Opioid Council. It's great to see you all, and I'll be listening in just for the first couple of minutes. Thank you.
Dr. Gillingham.
I'm Sarah Gillingham with Clear Creek County Human Services, and I'm Sarah Casano's backup representing Human Services for Clear Creek.
And Dr. Ryan.
Ryan, Clear Creek County Public Health Director.
Tori Jantz. I saw you unmute, but I didn't hear anything. Maybe if you just want to drop a hello in the chat. And then Under Sheriff Demo. Looks like some sound issues. So again, just drop a link in the chat for our non-voting members, our community members to check in, to keep attendance. This is a non-voting, non-policy type of meeting. So all of our voting members are free to leave. Thank you so much for dropping in. You're also welcome to stay and interact with prospective advisory board members and just our community. So just some general governance is that we did have a cost amendment. COST is the state reporting system for all of the opioid councils. And so this amendment goes over all of the allocations made and where they are made to. So in an effort of transparency, that is published. So we have 1.6 million towards co-responder programs, 1.2 million for the treatment of opioid use disorder, the general fund. We have $181,124 to the treatment of opioid use disorder, specifically MOUD, medications for opioid use disorder. Then $570,735 to recovery, the full continuum care of recovery services, 1.2 million specifically to recovery housing and other housing assistance, $631,163 to peer recovery centers and events, 1 million, almost 1.7 million to the transportation to treatment of recovery programs, a little over 1 million to prevention in the substance use prevention general category, $185,451 to school-based or youth-focused programs to prevent drug misuse, $294,544 to community-based education or intervention services, 1.3 million to infrastructure staffing at government level, 150,000 to the planning and coordination, government oversight, management of opioid abatement programs, 120,000 to monitoring, surveillance, data collection, and evaluation, 7,500 to staff training and networking, $364,507 to collaborative cross systems coordination, infrastructure, and staffing, 2 million to harm reduction programs or strategies in the general fund, and then $122,812 to the admin costs. This specific bucket does have a 10% cap, and that goes towards the fiscal agency. So if you would like me to dive into deeper in each one of these funding categories, please feel free to reach out to me so we can set up that one-on-one meeting and go over what these are. But this is a broad overview of the strategic plan. In our last meeting, there was a request to understand the distribution of the national opioid settlement. Broadly, it's roughly $45 billion over an 18-year period that started in 2021. That 45-ish billion was divided across all of the United States, and each state has their own regulatory infrastructure. Colorado created 19 regional councils. We are Region 10, Jefferson, Gilpin, and Clear Creek counties. So huge shout out to Chris and Amber who came up with this distribution chart. It is front loaded. It tells you all of the payments and the distributors, and then the year-to-date distribution. We are expecting in the ballpark of $45 million. This is a fluid budget because local governments can opt in or opt out of certain shares and donate that to the regional council to stretch dollars further. So that if we average out the 18-year span, we're looking at roughly $2 million. Again, that money is significantly front loaded. Some other general updates. There is a free opioid conference hosted by the Colorado Opioid Abatement Council. That's the state agency, and that is going to happen on October 27th. I do have the registration link on the next slide for you. That is being held in conjunction with the North Colorado Health Alliance Rethinking Addiction Conference on October 28th. Think of the conference on the 27th as more policy, administrative support to running regional councils. And the conference on the 28th is more geared towards practitioners, addiction and recovery specialists. Again, both conferences are free. And then our grantees from the most recent RFA for funding had their onboarding meeting July 14th. Contracting is in progress. We're aiming for a September 1st start date. Might also be closer to October, just depending on how quickly we can move through these contracts. And I'll leave these up for a moment if people want to scan those QR codes. I'll also open the floor for any questions right now.
Hey, Chelsea, it's Elisa. Would it be
Yes.
possible for anyone to put the actual link rather than the QR code for those conferences? Because it's the QR codes are only good if you're using your cell phone, but if you just want to register, it's really good to have the link.
I can work on getting those. We are down from the Studman group, so one-man show.
Oh, sorry. Well, I'm
No,
sure I
it's
can look.
okay. I'm gonna
Okay,
get them.
okay. Okay, thank you.
And Dr. Chelsea, on the RARE conference with NCHA, the app is saying that they're sold out.
Let me do some troubleshooting on that one. I can reach out to MJ Jorgensen to see if there is a cap on that. All right, so now I'm going to dive into a little bit about what the advisory council is to the GROC. And then there will be a space for us to go over meeting all of the community members and talking about your potential involvement on a more regular basis. So per the intergovernmental agreement and the memorandum of understanding that established the National Opioid Settlement, there are two types of advisory board members. The first one being discretionary. They are appointed a 2-year term with no term limit. Then non-discretionary, these are unlimited and they self-enroll. I'll dig into these a little bit deeper. The GROC has also included current grantees as an advisory board membership that is exclusive to Region 10. As of now, the advisory board does not have a lot of duties, infrastructure, or guidance involvement in the RFA process. They are intended to be community voices, but that was also why I wanted to host this meeting today, to see if we could build up some infrastructure in the advisory board and have some more regular voices in the room. So again, all sets of advisory board memberships are considered non-voting. I have previously reviewed the structure of the Region 10 Council having the 16 voting members. If you would like me to go over that more with you, again, please feel free to reach out to me and I can share that visual presentation with you or just have a conversation about what that structure is. But any non-voting members shall be appointed by voting members. So you have to be nominated and then voted in. The hope today is that we'll gather some interest, some resumes. I will condense that into a single document and share that with the voting members for the next meeting. Maybe not the next meeting, maybe our September meeting. And we'll do a mass adoption of names. So they should be representative from behavioral health providers, healthcare providers, recovery and treatment experts, people with lived experience, whether that is yourself or you have a family member or friend, other participating local government representatives, and a representative from the Attorney General's office. The GROC will make reasonable efforts to avoid appointing providers who receive or may receive opioid funds as non-voting members. Again, the GROC does have a specific category of grantees, and they are highlighted, and that interest is made known at every meeting. Any questions on that before I go forward? Awesome. So the next set is a discretionary, again, nominated, confirmed. The next set is non-discretionary. So this would be a representative from a school district of any size, and then a fire district covering a population of 25,000 or greater. And the commissioner from the county has to appoint this individual. So I have been in contact with the three commissioners, Commissioner Hollingsworth from Gilpin, Commissioner Marlin from Clear Creek, and Commissioner Dahlkemper from Jefferson County, to try to identify some of these individuals and speak with them about their interest in serving in this capacity. At this point, there's no real difference other than your label of being discretionary or non-discretionary. And it looks like we only have one, maybe two fire districts that qualify for this non-discretionary. That does not prohibit someone from a fire district of less than 25,000 joining the council as a discretionary voting member. That's just a 2-year term limit, and it does have to be voted on versus an appointment. Are there any questions on this category? And this is where I'm going to open the floor to our people who filled out that Monday.com form. I'll go ahead and call off your names, and then if I forgot anyone or you joined late, I'll go ahead and just have you fill that in. And we'll start with Erica Hag.
Sorry, it took me a second to turn that on. Dr. Shore, what would you like for me to talk about? Sorry.
Let's just do your name, the county you represent, and where you're from.
Sure. So Erica Hayes, I am representing the Clear Creek School District, obviously in Clear Creek County. Yeah.
Thank you. I have Sharon Hawkins. Sharon is with the Jefferson County School Board. Oh, same thing, Sharon, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. If you want to drop in the chat. Gavin Young.
Just found the unmute button. Yeah.
We can hear you, Gavin.
Okay, great. Gavin Young, Associate Director at the Phoenix. Serve all 3 counties, but primarily serve Jefferson County.
Thanks. Talia.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Talia Rodriguez. I am the grants manager at Jefferson Center for Mental Health.
Thank you. Elizabeth.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Gallagher. I am the director of the Community Crisis and Health Assistance Team in Clear Creek County.
Thanks for coming. Bobby Putnam. We'll go ahead to Nia Shepherd. I'll go ahead. So Bobby is from Gilpin. Oh, hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Nina Shepherd, Monarch Recovery Services, Jefferson County. I'm the administrator and the admissions and intake coordinator.
And they are a recent grantee. Bobby Putnam is from Gilpin County, the Deputy Chief Gilpin Ambulance Authority. Sasha. We have Sasha Hutchings from Jefferson County, the Executive Director of Jefferson County Communities That Care. Katie Yonker.
Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Yunker. I am representing Jefferson County, and I work for Lakewood Police Department. I run the pre-arrest diversion program here.
Awesome. Lakewood Police Department is also a recent grantee. Maggie Early.
Yeah, I'm Maggie Early on behalf of Dr. Sarah Story and Michael Miller for Jefferson County Public Health.
Thank you. And Jefferson County Public Health is a recent grantee for a harm reduction program that serves all 3 counties. Theodora. Theodora is a grant writer, I believe from Colorado Coalition for the Homeless. We've seen a couple meetings based in Jefferson County. And then Tanya.
Hi, everybody. Tanya Wheeler, Executive Director at Advocates for Recovery Colorado, and also women living in long-term recovery for over 35 years.
Thank you. And then was there anyone else who joined that I missed?
Luke Parr with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. I'm here for Mike Prang.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think you came in after I did introductions of voting members.
I'm here also. I'm Linda Berenger with Just Living Recovery.
Thank you, Linda. I'll go back and fix your name. It just said L.
Oh.
So I do have a QR code and a form on the screen. I will go ahead and drop that form link in the chat. Again, this is really just intended to gauge your interest. You don't have to fill this out today. I'm going to take the preliminary number. We have 14 people in the meeting today, which is awesome. Thank you so much. That's a lot of interest. So if all 14 of you fill it out, I'll go ahead and bring that number to the executive committee next week at their August 4th meeting. And ask what they would like to do moving forward with those 14 people. We'll find some agenda space to put those names forward, gauge some ideas for the best way to review those. I did put like a resume or CV that doesn't need to be super formal. It is just an idea for the voting members to get an idea of who you are, your subject matter expertise, what your interest is in. And then, yes, Tanya.
And just for clarification, the people who are grantees, you would prefer them not be advisory council? No.
Yeah, you don't have to do this. You automatically have an advisory board role.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, great question. So yeah, Tanya had asked if current grantees should fill this out, and I did say no. They have their own special group in the within the advisory board. So this would just be for past grantees, some of those other community members who are in the room, who are again interested in having a more regular and consistent voice on the council. I do have some infrastructure ideas on the next slide. So I started my position in October as the program manager, and there was an external consulting firm, the Stedman Group, who did a great job establishing the initial infrastructure of the GROC. So as I've been in my role for the last 9 months, kind of mapping out what my scope is, all of the things that I oversee, this is what I came up with. Grant administration, so funding area, subject matter experts, so that would be the treatment, prevention, recovery, harm reduction, planning and coordination, having subject matter experts in each of those areas, because when people apply, that's where the top of the umbrella starts for funding. And then we kind of funnel you down into more specific areas from there. Assistant, I'm getting a crash course in contracting with Jean Biondi and all the considerations that we need to put into the contract, getting some clarification on like if someone applied to hire a staff member, we need to include the minimum requirements, minimum qualifications for that position in the contract. And just general grantee implementation support, post-award support, grant management and oversight. So when grantees invoice, matching those invoices to their line item budget, making sure that they're spending within the categories that they were. If they need to move money from a line item, helping them craft that request to the voting council. And then oversight, including their quarterly reports or their evaluation reports, doing some capacity building of what kind of data they should be collecting to demonstrate that they are reaching their milestones that were outlined in their application. Community engagement, that would be for each county, Jefferson, Gilpin, and Clear Creek. So this is connecting with potential applicants for funding, trying to build a network of wraparound care. So maybe you don't need GROC funding, you're already doing treatment work and you have your finances stable, but we can get you to collaborate with someone like Tanya in Advocates for Recovery so you have warm handoffs for people when they leave your treatment center. Attending different meetings and recovery events so that the GROC has a presence in the community. The advisory board, which is you lovely folks right here today, right now. Meeting facilitation and prep time. I've never made so many PowerPoints in my life. I'm getting really good at it. I'm on track to win a Canva award. State evaluation and finance reporting, or otherwise referred to as transparency and accountability. So that is working with the COAC on what programs we're funding, how much money is allocated everywhere. The GROC does have an RFA open right now for program evaluation, so that we'll bring in an external evaluation team to evaluate how the GROC is meeting its goals. And the ultimate goal is mitigating the opioid crisis. So how are we doing that, and to what degree are we doing that? Working with our grantees to summarize all of their quarterly reports across their funding areas to really paint that picture of impact. And then all sorts of strategic communications, working with the Jefferson County Public Relations Office. We have a brand new website that is going to be launching in October. So there will be a way that you can subscribe to calendar invites moving forward, other than our current Google Calendar, any type of community inquiries, news or media briefings. So is Barb still in the room? I don't think she is. So kind of like what I was thinking in terms of infrastructure ideas for the advisory board is having people who are really passionate about each one of these areas and doing maybe some subcommittee meetings on these areas to provide input, help come up with some structure, infrastructure, make recommendations to the council within each of these areas. I want to open up the floor for comments on that. So right now, the advisory board does not have any additional meetings. They would just meet at the end of the month with the full council. But in this type of infrastructure idea that I'm throwing out there is that we might have some additional meetings. I would love to have the advisory board meet at least once quarterly to run through public comment on things. That way, when I present ideas to the council, there's already community input behind that. It's been refined a couple of times. Those interested in advisory board, what are your thoughts on that?
Dr. Chelsea, I just want to say I cannot imagine how you get all this done. I have watched you. I was part of this before we had you as the leader of this wonderful group. And I know how much was going into it. And I've watched since you've been hired since October. And I'm so impressed with how well you keep us all organized and moving forward. And while I know that absolutely everybody is crazy busy, I also want to say that for me, I love this idea, the infrastructure idea, that I think all of us can support in some way or another. And I can tell you that whether it's me or it's somebody else out of the Advocates for Recovery Colorado staff, we want to be helpful, and you let us know which bucket we fit best in, because we absolutely want to support this work and not just take money and provide services, but also to be at the table to brainstorm and talk about what are the best ways for us to serve the people in Region 10.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I really appreciate that. So kind of just like get things moving. I'm thinking of like how work groups just post like their calendar and whoever can attend that meeting attends that meeting. Would that be a helpful way to get this infrastructure off the ground if approved? Linda.
Hi, I'm just curious. I think the infrastructure ideas sound logical and good and a good way to address all these different subjects. I'm curious though, you said that the advisory council folks would attend the last meeting of the month with the full board, but how will they interact? How is that planned? Like
So
work that's done in the, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so whenever the floor is open for comment, the advisory board members would be able to comment just as they would just as the voting members would. The only difference is that when we ask for a motion and a vote, the advisory board members would not participate in that. But in every other aspect of the meeting, they would participate. Great question. So I will work on refining this to pitch again to our executive committee and then ultimately our full council once we get a list of names of people approved for the advisory board. And then I'll probably do an email to whoever those folks are to see where we can get some of these areas a little bit more filled in. And again, now I want to open the floor for public comment. We did just have a request for funding announcements that was open from February to March was the application period. The review happened April through June. So I did collect a satisfaction survey from all of the applicants. And then I am collecting a satisfaction survey from all of our reviewers and review committee. But how did that work for everyone else in the room? It was a very large RFA. How was communication? The webinars. I did a listening tour in each of the 3 counties beforehand. Would we like more of that type of outreach?
I feel like I'm the only one talking and I'm trying to stay back, but I thought the RFA process was really good. I think it was a little bit wonky for the past awardees. And did we have to fill out all the same information or was it different? I think that could have been clarified earlier would be the only feedback that I have.
Thank you so much for that.
I'll weigh into Dr. Shore. So my experience also was very good. I thought that the webinars were helpful. Even though I was a past grantee, the person who had applied previously wasn't me. So I actually was pretty fresh to the whole thing. So the whole process worked really good right up to the end at the submission time, where that tool was just a little bit wonky. And then of course, we didn't know for sure that it had been submitted. I was exchanging emails with you. It was kind of going back and forth. It was just stressful. But I thought overall the process worked well. The tool was a little wonky.
Yes, that I do have a solution on the next slide, but I'll stay here a little bit longer.
I also thought that the ongoing webinars were really helpful and great conversation for understanding what the intention of the RFA was. I did, however, find that in the end that and I already shared this with you, Chelsea, that either we didn't give a good description of who we are and what we do, or the questions weren't asked in that way, and that seemed to play a part in the reviewing of our proposal, that there was not a good understanding of who we are. So I'm not sure where that change lies, but just like I said, I mentioned that to you before.
Yeah, and I am in the process of doing an analysis of all of the RFAs, comparing the funded applications to the unfunded applications, the reasons for funding or unfunding them. I do think that we can improve in how we structure the questions in the application to ensure that we get the answers the review committee is looking for. Typically in grant writing, there are assumptions, and you don't really know those assumptions unless you're in that grant writing space for a specific grant administrator for a while. So I think definitely once I finish those RFAs and speaking with the review committee, again, restructuring the questions to get really targeted answers would be helpful. And then also having advisory board members who are subject matter experts in the room and at the table. Elisa recently mentioned doing the work group, somehow balancing the work group process that was in the first round with the individual scoring of the second round. So my very preliminary idea is to do the individual scoring, and everyone who scored that application would come together and talk about their scores, and they would come up with one single score to push forward. That way the individuals who score the application without that deep knowledge of the funding area can speak with that subject matter expert who does have that deeper knowledge, and they can kind of talk about back and forth to push an application forward.
The other thing I think I mentioned to you too was about the letters of support, that somehow it seemed as if they were optional and not going to play a huge part in the review of any proposals. But in listening to the reviews when they were public, it seemed as if they were playing a very important part. And I'm not saying they shouldn't, because I think they should, but the instructions beforehand were somewhat sort of downplayed the idea of those letters of support.
Yeah.
So making a decision about that would be good.
Yeah, I think we can definitely work on how we want to use the letters of support versus the letters of acknowledgement and communicating that to the grantees. Thank you for that feedback. So this one is a little bit lengthy. I am going to move on to our standard operating procedure manual. I did drop 2 links in the chat. The first one takes you to the standard operating procedures manual. The second one is a public comment form. And again, you don't have to fill this out today. You can hold on to it. I will email it out. The first draft of the standard operating procedures manual was approved back in February. And this is really intended to be a guiding document that builds on the intergovernmental agreement, the memorandum of understanding, and the bylaws of the council of really just how we do business. The big changes are that will be proposed are highlighted in yellow. The rest of it has already been adopted. And then if you go through the form, I did walk you through each one of those changes, but I'll walk through them now. So language was just clarified that this is not intended to be a specific document. This document is intended to give a broad overview of the different processes, and you should always reference the individual funding opportunity or document for those details. The next major change is going to be in this fiscal controls section, where we reassigned, just kidding, it's in the funding mechanisms and solicitations. We clarified the language of the fiscal contact and program manager to be just the program manager. For oversight, and so that is again separating the fiscal agency relationship between Jefferson County and the GROC. On page 14, and again, none of these are adopted yet. These are all proposed amendments. Please, again, feel free to use this time to engage in dialogue and then also fill out that form. The second change was to remove the Civic Plus program and change it to the application platform. The third change delegates authority to the program manager to seek additional reviewers if needed. I'm very open to feedback on how we word this. I think this is very broad right now. And we can even add how that process happens into each individual funding mechanism. But something that occurred in the first round was we had 50 applications, and we didn't have the human capacity to do that. And we did have people commit to reviewing and just their additional civic duties. So I did have to go seek some additional reviewers from the advisory board. That way we got scores on those applications, and they were all subject matter experts. So in the form, there is an option to accept the change, do not accept the change, conceptually accept the change, and then there's a comment box for you to leave feedback on how that can be improved. So here's the form. And so that would be right here, where it gives you the option to accept, not accept, conceptually accept, and then give us some suggestions for clarifying that language or whatever that process is. In this section in the RFA general funding, that we included clarifying language that this specific process is used for the GROC's annual funding allocation of grant awards. A detailed process can be found in the respective funding announcement. Again, just intended to be a broad overview. Removing that Civic Plus language into the respective application form. Here, again, clarifying that each funding opportunity may have unique requirements or processes. Talking about accepting late applications instead of just a hard will not be accepted unless there are technical issues persistent across the application portal. We did also move the submission time from midnight to noon. That way I'm awake, I'm at my laptop, I've blocked off time to mitigate technical difficulties and provide support in a timely manner. But acceptance remains at the discretion of the review committee. Some clarifying language here about different priorities. This is one of the bigger changes, and please feel free to interject at any time if there's a question, comment, or concern. This is one of the bigger changes, but this will hopefully, taking into consideration, again, that completely unexpected influx of applications and trying to mitigate conflicts of interest, ensuring that we have enough reviewers, that we've scheduled enough review time for this, is transitioning to a two-phase RFA grant award. So this would require a letter of intent in a standard single-page template, name, organization, budget, Exhibit E funding area, brief overview of what the project will be. That way the review committee can read a single page and then they will pick which applications, which projects they wish to invite to a full application. That will also hopefully save the time of applicants if your project is not aligned with the strategic plan, the council is not interested at this time, you're not filling out a full application. I know that a standard grant could take north of 16 hours to craft, but save your time. You just have to do that single letter of intent. So this is a draft kind of process, application.
Dr. Chelsea, can you tell me what page you're looking at? This is right here.
Yeah, this is going to be page 16.
Is yours over already?
Any initial thoughts on that two-phase process?
I think it could save time and work for people if they're not approved in that process, then they know they don't need to spend all that time doing the whole grant.
Yeah.
Will it still be yearly or?
We have not committed to an annual award, right? Because we're still building infrastructure on how we manage the awards. So like right now we have 10 contracts and no real infrastructure on how we monitor them. So I have asked the council not to do an RFA until we develop that infrastructure. And then just going down. And then if you are following along on the form, I did ask for feedback for improving or clarifying the two-phase RFA grant awards on page 16. It is an open text box for you to leave comments there. The next one clarified some language in the RFP. Again, changing fiscal contact to program manager in the application portal. The sole source is in here. Can't remember if I added this last or not. But sole sources, the GROC may waive the requirement to perform an RFP or RFA if it determines that the desired service or project is only available from a single provider. Should probably highlight that. Clarifying uses of the emergency fund. So this is, it's the contingency fund. It would not be open when there was an RFA. It really is intended to be short-term, smaller dollar amounts. For example, if we are seeing a public increase in overdoses and we need immediate funding for Narcan, there's an organization that has tapped out its allocations from the state bulk Narcan fund, or they don't qualify for that. We have this money already pulled down from the state and it's ready to go. So that this is not open yet, again, because I don't have infrastructure for it. So just again, clarifying kind of what that process would be. The next change is an added mechanism that would be the cross-regional collaborations. So this would be when the GROC identifies a time-sensitive, strategic, or pilot opportunity that does not fall within the standard funding cycle or a competitive RFA process. It may be used to respond to emerging needs, but it has to be aligned with interests of other regional opioid abatement councils or ROAC. So for example, Adams County has an interest in sober living homes, but they haven't received any RFA applications for sober living homes. And most of those homes are in Jefferson County. And so they share a lot of participants. And so could we possibly do a match award for an infrastructure grant where Adams County does $500,000, Region 10 does $500,000, and then we're awarded an infrastructure award for $500,000. And we have this collaborative of sober living homes that can tap into this fund for pre-approved uses. They have an evaluation plan, they have an invoicing plan. That collaborative, we've had one meeting, one brainstorming meeting, and then both regions went into their RFA. So I am looking to get that started up soon again, but that's kind of what the cross-regional collaboration would be. There's also, for example, the Gilpin County School District has a school in Boulder County. And so Boulder County and Gilpin County share students. Funding is separated in different ways. And so what would a collaboration with the Boulder Regional Council look like to ensure all of the schools in that school district are getting covered without duplicative efforts or duplicative funding? That would be a cross-regional collaboration.
Excuse me, Dr. Chelsea, it's Elisa. Can I just correct something? I know it was an example, but Boulder Valley School District is a totally separate school district. It's just that some Gilpin students and parents elect to go there. It's not part of the Gilpin County School District. So the schools in Nederland are in the Boulder Valley School District. They're not
I thought
part
there
of
was
Gilpin.
one school.
No,
that was.
There's only one school in the Gilpin County School District, and it's in Gilpin County. And then some of our students go to the Boulder Valley School in Nederland.
Okay.
It's not the same school district. Yeah. I know it was just an example, but I just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Under Sheriff Demo here. I just want to clarify. Can you hear me, Chelsea?
Yes.
So half of our county actually is assigned to the Boulder Valley School District.
Okay.
Just so you're aware. So there is part of our county where there isn't a choice to go but to Nederland. Otherwise, you have to request to go out of district to Gilpin, RE1. So there is 2 school districts within Gilpin County. If that makes it more complicated.
Yeah, so Cross-regional collaboration is how do we make sure everyone's covered?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. And then one of the other funding mechanisms that's being proposed is a special interest project. So again, when the GROC identifies a time-sensitive, strategic, or pilot opportunity that does not fall within the standard RFA cycle, special projects may be used to respond to emerging needs, cross-regional collaborations. But this is really where, again, hypothetical example, and we do have to talk through these a lot more. These are initial drafts. Is that if 5 of the current GROC grantees are using a specific technology to collaborate with each other, and we need additional funding for that, then those grantees can make a special request to do a special project for some additional funding on this targeted thing. Maybe there is a very specific project that all 14 of our hypothetical advisory board members are very interested in funding that project, that they can push that through to the voting members in this special projects, kind of special interest projects pathway. So again, this is just an initial draft. After we get public comment, I do have to send it over to legal and some other reviewers to really craft what that would look like. And in the public comment, there's a text box to conceptually accept this change, provide input of things that you would like us to take into consideration, maybe some bounds or scope of what the special interest projects should or should not include. And then the last change is going to be an accessibility statement. On page 25, this is standard just accessibility language. Our website right now is a GoDaddy website. It is not extremely accessible. As always, people can email me or they can call me and I can get you some accessible documents, working with the Jefferson County Office of Accessibility Services. If people need alternative formats of things, always willing to work with you. My background is in higher education, so I'm intimately involved with ADA. We can get really creative with the accommodations that we give people, reasonable accommodations. So that would just be the accessibility statement. Our website will be more accessible and adhere to state guidelines in October. We're working on it. And then finally on the form, there is a spot for any other comments or suggestions of what should go in here. Just any ideas that you have to give a broad overview of how the council is ran and does business. We'll probably include a section on the advisory board and what that infrastructure looks like, if there's monthly or quarterly meetings, if we decide to do those special interest groups. Any other questions, comments, concerns about the SOP?
Can you give us a timeline? Because I'm thinking that I would like to fine tooth comb through this more. Is there a decision on when there will be a final adoption of this, or kind of how long do we have to look at it?
I am taking the August agenda to the executive committee next week. I don't know, there are some things that we absolutely have to take care of at that August meeting. So I would imagine that the SOP amendments would not go before the council until September. I can have a more definitive answer to you on August 4th. This is viewed as an organic document though, so it's living. And so even if you if you do one round, like go back in a couple weeks and do it again. There's no limit to the number of times you can fill out that form and provide feedback.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. Great question. All right, if there is nothing else here, I am going to go on to the next request. And I'm going to circle back to Elizabeth's comment on the RFA portal being janky. Yes, Civic Plus is not a grant administration tool. It is a form like Google Forms or Monday.com forms. It's not intended for the capacity that a grant application requires. So there was a lot of technical errors with that. So immediately at that time, I started working with the Jefferson County Business Innovation Technology Department. Huge shout out to Katie Cunningham, who has been leading that charge, to prospect grant administration and management software. So we prospected 5 organizations. One of them was there's 4 organizations, but one of them was recently acquired by the other. So that was 3 organizations. The first one was Salesforce, and that initially started out very low cost, but every meeting we had with Salesforce, the price changed and the price grew exponentially. So there was just a lot of uncertainty with that vendor. The second one was Good Grants, and that had a really pretty price point, but they could not fill out any of our security questionnaires or accessibility questionnaires unless we signed a contract. And Sean will be very proud. We didn't think Sean would let us sign a contract unless we knew that they met the minimum security requirements required by the county. That just did not seem like a smart idea. So then we did end with eUna management or eUna solutions. And it's also referred to as eCivics. And again, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Chris Habgood found this. It is a nice price point. It is $17,000 per year. They do grant administration and grant management. So the administration side is when the GROC posts an application for funding and people apply to it, then we have to get those materials to the review committee to score. The scoring all happens within this platform. All the status letters get sent out within this platform. And then we can transition the awardees into management right now. And so that would be like the monthly or quarterly invoicing, submitting the materials for your invoicing, doing your quarterly reporting, all of that. Your budget gets built into the platform. And so there's no emailing back and forth. It's just it's a central hub for everyone over time. We do have $151,000 in accrued interest. And so this to me is your fun money. This is your gambling money, right? You never gamble with your income. You always do that with the excess money. You pay your bills first. So that would equate to roughly 9 years of being able to pay for this software, not using the opioid funding directly. Again, that's the accrued interest, the fund money. So there is a resource folder right here that goes over what eUna is, and something that Katie and I really loved about them is that when we scheduled the demo, they went to our website, looked at all of the documents that were available, looked at the RFA that was open at the time, and they crafted the demo to GROC. So they took the time to learn who we are, what we do, and how we can do it better. So there is a presentation here, their pricing proposal, what they do in their brief. And then there is the business slide deck, which is something that Katie put together that goes over the risk, the considerations, what we were looking for, a sample of the rubric, kind of what the process is now, and how we got to the return on investment, the risk mitigation score, and ultimately that this was the best vendor to do this job. I don't want to go over it in detail unless people ask me to. But what I am looking for right now is kind of a recommendation that community members would be okay with this investment before I take it to it would still have to go to the executive committee. There'll be some back and forth, and then it'll go to a full council vote, hopefully at the end of August. Let me work on getting those links in the chat for folks. Any questions, comments, concerns? A yay, a nay?
I think it looks good. I fully support not having to do things, you know, with pencil and paper, and to create an opportunity for this to really help the council. And I love the fact that it's not coming out of the settlement funds per se that should be used for services, but that you've created a different opportunity to be able to get that to be paid for. I love it.
Do people have any additional questions about this utilities tool at this time?
Does all of this live in the GROC shared drive? Okay, perfect.
Yes. And then if you did do the monday.com form to do the attendance check-in, I have your email. I will send out the meeting minutes that has the recording of the meeting today. It will have links to all of the materials shared today. And then they will live in that public folder with all of the other meeting documents. All right, I guess on that note, I will be making an detailed presentation and request for funding EUNA at the executive committee meeting next Monday. That is also open for the public. So you're welcome to attend that. And again, as always, you can email me at any time, call me at any time. That if you have follow-up questions, if you want to go over any of this information in greater detail, I'm really here to serve mostly the community. Yes, I serve the council, but the council would not exist if we didn't have a community. So I will give back your time if there are no other questions, comments, or concerns, Advocates for Recovery does have an event in Central City on August 1st called S'more Then Recovery. I will get that link in the chat. It is also on our Google Calendar and our website for people to find more information on. Then we have, like I said, our August 4th Executive Committee meeting, the August 25th Full Council meeting that will be held in Gilpin and online. Super excited to go up to Gilpin over summer. Then we have the September 8th Executive Committee meeting. As of right now, is still canceled. We had a lot of traveling at that time. We might bring it back up. We will keep everyone updated. And then again, our full council meeting on September 22nd. So I will go ahead and stay in the room. Again, the floor is open for any type of discussion from the community.
I just want to say we're super lucky to have you, Dr. Chelsea. We get funds from other regions, and it became very clear really quickly that commissioners are not accustomed to doing this kind of work. And so to have a program manager and someone that we can really depend on and ask questions and get clarification from has just been incredibly helpful with GROC. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to the voting members, especially still in the room, who saw that need and created a job posting. I also did drop the link again to the advisory board interest form in the chat. Maybe that was my first time dropping it. But it is there. And like I said, I will send out a meeting recap that has the minutes once I get those typed up, the recording, and then all of the links from today.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to my next meeting.
Yeah. Thank you,
Okay.
Tanya. Good to see you. Bye.